Welcome back, Truth Seeker. July 15th, 2018. The World Cup has just concluded. France has become the sixth team to win more than one World Cup. I'm going to show you how their championship was foreshadowed through the propaganda, distraction-based news story of the soccer team that was rescued from the Thailand cave. If you're new here, this video is very important for you to watch. You might be one of the millions of people who needs to wake up to the fact that your news is nothing but contrived propaganda and the world of sports is nothing but a pre-planned script. And just to start with the Thailand cave story on the surface, the very obvious giveaway that this was a fake and contrived story was the fact you were being told by the news there were people trapped in a cave, they couldn't get out, they were near death, which was something repeated in the media for more than 2 weeks. Yet at the same time, TV camera crews were in the cave. Every time they photographed the soccer team, they were all standing side by side, looking right at the camera. Can you imagine if you were starving for more than 2 weeks in a cave and you were being recorded for the news? You'd probably be huddled down on the ground, exhausted, passed out, unnourished, but not in this case. Everyone always standing shoulder to shoulder, staring right at the camera. And then the cameras would go to, and here's the rescue team. And it would be a group of people with hard hats on, literally with their hands in their pockets, just staring at the camera. I mean, are they trying to rescue supposedly the stranded people in the cave, or are they trying to pose for the photo op? Just on the surface, the stuff is just so dumb. But then you start to think more and you're like, a story about a soccer team that's dominating the news cycle during the time of the World Cup. The other thing dominating the news cycle. And if you paid attention, sources like CNN and other major outlets, all throughout the news cycle, they'd carry the World Cup and the soccer team in the cave, side by side, day after day. So, how did this story foreshadow that France would win the championship? Let's talk about that now. If you're new here, for years I've educated about the importance of the number 47 and how it's used for rituals, especially in the news, as well as in sports. The story of the Thailand cave began June 23rd, 2018. 6 plus 23 plus 18, a fair way to get the date numerology, equals 47. In the language of Gematria, which is important to the people who control the news media, Gematria, the ancient practice of coding numbers into words, based on a handful of crucial ciphers. In the language of Gematria, the name of the cave sums to 47. Notice how Tom Luong, 47, as well as Tom Luong Cave, also 47. And the difference in these two ciphers is the lower one with the darker blue, that's based on the alphabetic order. You take the alphabetic order and you use the rules of numerology for each letter. So T, the 20th letter, instead of being worth 20, it's 2 plus 0, the numerology of 20, equals 2. H is the 8th letter, A is the 1st, M's the 13th letter. Instead of M being 13, it's 1 plus 3 is 4. Instead of L, the 12th letter being 12, it's 1 plus 2 is 3. So you make each letter a single digit number and you add the name of the cave with the word cave, 47. If you flip the alphabetic order around, make Z1 and count up to A as 26 and use the rules of the numerology, Tom Luong, the area where the cave is, also 47. So what a perfect location for this to be, where the drama is, starting on a date with 47 numerology. Now, who won the World Cup? France, which just using the alphabetic order equals 47. And understand this language of Gematria, it's important to two groups of people. Jewish people, who go by the Old Testament, where the name of God is Elohim, and in Hebrew, the numeric value for Elohim is 47. Very special number. Again, this entire code is biblical. It's from Kabbalah, which is connected to the Old Testament. Part of the belief of Kabbalah is that God created the world by merging the letter with the number. This entire code is connected to God. The people who control the media know that they play God over the masses with media, with entertainment, with things such as sports. The entire world's GDP goes down during the time of the World Cup. Think of the power of sport. Controls the minds of the masses. That needs to stop. These rigged sports games are so pathetic, and I don't think this World Cup could have been any more pathetic. How gimmicky did it look? I'm going to show you why that last 6th goal went in, which couldn't have been any more stupid, and I'm sure everyone listening knows it. Meaningless goal, but it was for a very specific reason, which we're going to get to. So anyway, 47, this special number. This code's important to Jewish people as well as Freemasonry. And Freemasonry and Judaism go hand in hand. There's a villain from history who told the world this. That's Adolf Hitler, who shut down all the Masonic lodges, who said people were conspiring against the common people within the Masonic lodges. And we know who Hitler pointed out above all. Freemasonry, Judaism, invested in Gematria. In the English language, all of these words sum to 74, the reflection of 47. English 74, just using the alphabetic order. Gematria 74, Jewish 74, Masonic 74, all with the alphabetic order. Reflections of numbers are equivalents in this study. 47, 74 equals. In Hebrew, where this code originally comes from, you read right to left. So 47 in Hebrew is 74, you see? But again, on the Freemason compass, 47 degrees it's set at. It's a tribute to the 47th problem of Euclid, the Greek mathematician. The 47th problem of Euclid is about how to establish foundation for a structure. Foundation 47. Over in America, a nation where the birthday is 4/7, American football began its first Super Bowl in the 47th season of the NFL. Huge number in history across the world because Freemasonry is across the world. Long time ago, before I knew Gematria, what I spotted was the news loved the number 47. They just love to put it in stories for no reason at all. Pay attention to the news, see how often 47 is mentioned in a story. Being aware of this, it'll be undeniable. When I learned Gematria, I said, well, look at that. News equals 47. Just like government, just like authority. And if you have eyes to see, it's easy to see that news and government and authority are one and the same thing across the world. This is what controls people. This is what programs people. It's what tells people to do, how to behave, what to believe. 47 is also connected to time. And understand, World Cup, sports, they're rituals in time. The tropics of this earth, northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere, Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, they're 47 degrees apart. 47 degrees. I live up here near Seattle. Seattle has a rotating restaurant that does a full rotation every 47 minutes. Seattle's also on the 47th parallel. Time. So with regards to time in this cave story in the World Cup, notice the cave story began June 23rd. The championship came 22 days later. And with football/soccer, the number 22 should be self-explanatory. 22 men on the field. 22, the master builder number. Freemasonry began as builders. Then over time it evolved to include, government officials, people in high places. 22, the master builder. When you write out master builder, it sums to 147, like Freemason, like conspiracy. Special numbers. What day's Bastille Day? July 14th, 14/7, the day before France wins the World Cup. Remember the Bastille Day attack? All by the numbers. It's too bad my old YouTube channel was deleted by Google. You can go back and watch it. The Bastille Day attack, major mocking, carried out by these same people who control news, government, media, sports. But understand, Bastille Day, not arbitrarily on July 14th, Just like how in the United States, July 4th, not an arbitrary date either. If you write out 47th, it sums to 147. Again, this code's biblical. Genesis 47 is about Jacob, who becomes Israel, dying at age 147. And don't forget, Israel was voted on to become a nation in the year 47, officially established in 48 on May 14th. But anyhow, the master builder number 22, you write it out 147 like Freemason, like conspiracy, corresponding with the date Bastille Day. Don't forget, English was standardized as a 26-letter alphabet at the same time the Gregorian calendar was rolling out in the world. And also don't forget that France, probably the nation with the most Masonic history in the entire world. Also interesting, if you write out 22 as a word, it sums to 42. If you write out Freemason, 42. If you write out Russia, 42, who just hosted. And what was the winning score of this World Cup? 4-2. And the last goal was completely stupid, you know? Goalie kicks it, 3 feet to the other team so he can just kick it right back in the goal. I mean, who would do that? Who would do that? You couldn't even find a little kid anywhere on this world. Well, maybe you could. Maybe you could find like a 5-year-old that would do it, 4-year-old when they first start playing soccer. But beyond that age, probably not going to happen. Unless you're playing in professional rigged sports, which is what the entire world of professional sports is. Rigged and scripted, everything to the point, everything numerical ritual. Because numbers are God to certain people. And again, the Freemason logo, the capital G, the 7th letter, something called Sumerian Gematria, where you multiply each letter times 6, 7 times 6, 42, like Freemason. 4-2 in Russia. Keep in mind, around the capital G, we have a compass and a square, instruments of geometry, instruments of mathematics. Gematria means geometry and language. Whole lot more to 42, but just understand the word math. One of those words with a numerical value of 42. New Testament, this code's biblical, begins with the 42 generations to Jesus. New Testament equals 42. What's the first book of the New Testament? Matthew. Matthew equals 27, the first of 27 books in the New Testament. So a lot of people, just listening to my radio show, if you listen to my radio show on Wednesday nights, talking about this Thailand cave story, it's triggered a lot of people in their mind. It makes them think of the Chilean cave miner rescue story. The men trapped in the cave, the people in the mine, the people trapped in the cave, rescued, big news stories. Remember how they put out a movie called The 33? And it came out November 13th, 2015, Friday the 13th, which was the same day as the Paris, France attack. France, home of the +33 international dialing code. Masonry equals 33, secrecy 33, order 33. Today, July 15th, 2018, a date with a life lesson number of 33. You get that by adding 7 plus 15, which is 22. And then you add 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 8. You break down the year digit by digit. That's 11 more, so 22 plus 11, 33. But think about this. That movie about the trapped miners, it came out on the same day that there was the Paris, France attack, all numerical ritual, which we exposed in a million different ways back in 2015. And remember, the original superstition about Friday the 13th comes out of France, when King Philip burned the Knights Templar, who were the Masons of their time, at the stake. And also interesting is we just had a Friday the 13th, 2 days before this championship, Then Bastille Day the day after, and then France wins the championship. By the way, in Gematria, Thailand equals 33. Thailand has a red, white, and blue flag like France, like Croatia, like Russia. Colors that are symbolic of Masonry, all these Masonic nations with their red, white, and blue flags across the world. Another interesting thing, they made a big deal throughout the stages of the rescue of the cave. At one point, it was 8 saved, 5 to go. Interesting that the Chilean disaster began on August 5th, 8-5 or 5-8. There's also the story of, the next story in history that's closest to these cave rescue and mine rescue is baby Jessica rescue. Baby Jessica was born on the 85th day of the year, March 26th. Story back from the 80s. And 85 is the reflection of 58. And again, in Gematria, Freemasonry equals 58, secret society 58, Emmanuel Macron equals 58. If you missed my old work on Emmanuel Macron and Trump and all the rituals with 58, again, Donald Trump won the 58th U.S. presidential election after announcing he'd run from the 58-story Trump Tower, hired 58-year-old Steve Ray on Inauguration Day, the 58th U.S. presidential inauguration. United States equals 58, Washington 58, we the people 58. Anyway, these numbers, they're all symbolic. That's why they get used again and again. Biblical 58, where this code comes from. Tetragrammaton, the other name for God from the Old Testament, 58. Again, there's a reason. There's meaning behind all these values. It's why they always come together. They said in today's World Cup, it was the most goals scored since 58 in a World Cup. 58 again. You see? Emmanuel Macron, 58. From today, the day France won, to his upcoming 41st birthday is 159 days. And Scottish Rite equals 159. Freemasonry, the Scottish Rite, has the majority of its history in France. How perfect that from today to his birthday, 159 days. Not arbitrary. All of these people are puppets, born and bred to be. It's all planned ritual. This World Cup for France planned long ago. Probably the Thailand cave hoax story planned long ago is all part of their ritual. And we're going to get more to why Thailand in a cave and what it's all about. If you follow my blog, last night I put this up. This was one of CNN's top stories last night. This was a major clue that France would win today. This story came on Bastille Day, and I've said it before. Sometimes you can just throw away the Gematria and look at the pictures and the captions that they put in the media with sports, because oftentimes it's foreshadowed so clearly through what's written. Just look at this story from CNN here. You have a France player celebrating, and look at what it says. Here's how the championship game will be won and lost. It's like telling you. And then you read the article, and the article favors France. It predicts France will win. They predicted France would win 2-1 in the article. Telling you, putting it in your face. And again, this came on Bastille Day. France wins the championship the day after their Independence Day. And don't forget, if you don't know your history, the American Revolution came, then the French Revolution came. The French Revolution, credited to the Bavarian Illuminati. The Bavarian Illuminati established May 1st, 1776, 2 months and 3 days before the American Revolution. With 13 families. We're going to get to 13 here in a moment. 13 people in the cave. We're getting there. In case you missed my last video on the World Cup, I also noted the details about this article right here about France and Africa. Africa, the continent colonized by England and France, Masonic nations. Modern Freemasonry established in London in 1717, like how the cave story lasted 17 days. But in this article, they say that the French team had at least 15 African players. 47's the 15th prime. Why else would they write it this way? They don't know the exact count. Is it that difficult to count the players on the team and see where they're from? At least 15. 47 the 15th prime. Also, 6 and 52 have been huge in sports in recent years. Looks like my camera just froze down here. My computer's getting old, you guys. We're going to go without the camera for the rest of this video. We're almost to the end. But 6, 52, huge numbers in sports. In recent times, we've been documenting this. Today's game, 6 goals scored, 4-2. France won their 6th game of the tournament. Croatia finished with 6 wins in the tournament. France became the 6th team to win multiple World Cups. Remember, if you write out 6 as a word using ordinal gematria, it comes to 52. 52. A lot of people who followed my work thought England might win because it had been 52 years since they last won. It was not a bad thought, but that can be the trick with gematria sometimes, you know. Also, the Thailand cave, there were 13 people, which is the 6th prime number. And with regards to 13 and 6, let's go to the Bible, where this code comes from. 1 Samuel 13:6. When the Israelites saw that their situation was critical and that their army was hard pressed, they hid in caves and thickets, among the rocks and in pits and cisterns. Read more about this verse. But again, all of these riddles, they come from the Bible. Samuel 13:16, we have 13 people in the cave. In gematria, using the alphabetic order and numerology, Samuel equals 17. 17 days this story lasted. 12 children, 1 coach. France avenged their loss from 12 years earlier to Italy in 2006 in the World Cup Championship. Samuel in the base ciphers also has gematria of 91. That's the 13th triangular number. That means if you add 1 through 13 together, it equals 91. And understand, everything in the English Bibles, you learn the verse numbers, what's coded in the words, what's reported in the stories. You see how the entire Bible is constructed in this way, with these numerical riddles. That's why Revelation 13:18 is about gematria. It's a Greek isopsophy riddle about the number of the beast. 666. Revelation 13:18. 13, the 6th prime. 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 18. Revelation 13:18, you see? The word cave in reduction gematria, that's the alphabetic order in numerology. Cave is 13. 13 people trapped in the cave. You know? 13, the 6th prime. France becomes the 6th team to win multiple World Cups. If you write out 13 as a word using the alphabetic order, it sums to 99. And look at the coordinates of this cave on the 99th meridian. Also the 20th parallel, and if you missed my last video on the World Cup, France last won the World Cup in France 20 years ago. 20, a very special number in regards to time. And, you know, just for good measure, let's do the gematria, the significance of 20. Well, if my computer doesn't die here. Let's do the significance of 20 one more time with regards to time. And look at the depth of this cave. 85 meters, you know, another 85. You got baby Jessica born on the 85th day. You got the Chilean mine disaster, August 5th. Now you got the 85-meter deep cave. You see what they've done? Let's talk about T, time, 20. T, the first letter in time is the 20th letter. And notice, T is like a cross. A lowercase t is like a cross. And if you write out cross using the alphabetic order and the rules of numerology, cross is 20. Throughout time, the cross has been used to symbolize time, the seasons, the 4 seasons. When you make a cross, it divides the space into 4 sections. The cross used to symbolize the seasons, 20. Seasons, time. Guess what the word time equals in the same cipher? 20. So here you get this story about a race against time. You know, people trapped in a cave, all synced up with the World Cup, a soccer team in a cave during the time of the World Cup. What amazes me is how people don't put 2 and 2 together in this world. I can't tell you how many people have asked me what I think about the Thailand cave story and oh, isn't it a tragedy? And oh, isn't it great they're getting rescued? And it's just like, my God, people, you're not noticing what they're doing. World Cup, Thai cave rescue, you know, cameramen in the cave that somehow nobody else can get to rescue these boys. I mean, if you can get into the cave and save your electrical equipment and be able to record and broadcast international news, you'd think you'd be able to get these same people back out of the cave the other way. And if you don't listen to my radio program, a young 14-year-old who's now going by the name Young Decoder, who found my work at the beginning of 2018 and who started his own YouTube channel and his own blog, he happened to go to the high school in the Los Angeles area where it was reported in the news that Elon Musk was testing his mini sub, which might be used in the rescue. And since he goes to that school and lives in that neighborhood, he went to the school while that news was going on to see what was going on, and the entire school was empty. No one in the parking lot, no mini subs there being tested, no Elon Musk. But meanwhile in the news, you know, you're hearing about this. And it's all BS. It's all propaganda. It's all contrived. Again, from the news to the sports to all of it, you know. So if you can't see it, if you think it's all a coincidence, you are the person that's written about in the Talmud. And I invite everyone to look up the Talmud and what is written in that book about humanity in regards to people who aren't Jewish. You won't like what you read, that's what I promise you. But at the same time, if you're one of these people who's fooled by these news stories, who thinks these sports are legitimate, you are why what is written in the Talmud is what is written. And to give you a little teaser, what's expressed is that if you're not Jewish, you are dumber than dumb. You're too dumb for your own existence. So if you don't think that's true about you, and you're someone who thinks news is real and sports are legitimate, well, there's a definite conflict and there's something you need to work on as a person. I assure you that much. All right, Truth Seeker, until next time.